Welcome, everybody, to the Partner Up Podcast. I'm Sergio.
And I'm Kimberly.
And today we have a pretty special episode of the app. We have some people joining us that are actually our neighbors. So if you guys are joining us for the first time and you're coming in from the letter that you have hopefully received, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. So I'm Sergio, and I'm technically the property owner or property management there at San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Kimberly. I'm the landowner, and we started the application process together, but technically you're the one presenting, and we'll explain like what all that means right now.
Yeah, so we're a husband and wife dynamic duo, you know. So one of the reasons that we have that property out there, and to begin with, was let's start from the beginning. We acquired the property way before we got married.
Yes, way before we got married. I remember we had talked about doing stuff like this, like before, because we knew, we wanted to do some investing of our own before we got married. And I remember we saw so many properties in San Antonio. Like we went house to house, like, our real estate agent was helping us. Like it was so frustrating because we couldn't find one that would work, or we would put an offer and then they would reject it, or the type of loan we were getting, like it wasn't going to work. And then I remember on our way to see this one, I was like, because it was right before my birthday, I remember. I was like, if this one doesn't work out, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to buy a property. I'm over this. And then this is the property we ended up getting. It was the very last one we were scheduled to see. And then I was like, if this one doesn't work out, nah, that's it.
That's right. And the property in question you guys are hearing about, folks, is 327 Bear Drive. So it's a property that it's a little duplex that we purchased.
That I purchased, technically.
Yes, that you purchased. It's under your name and everything. So definitely you purchased it. But it was sort of a mutual agreement when I came to Austin and worked first. You were still living back home with your parents. We were still dating at the time, but I've always been looking into investing and like what to do once you make it out of the hole, right? So it was my first big boy job, and I started saving, and I'm like, all right, what is the thing that you need to do? And everybody unanimously agrees you have to do some sort of investment. The safest thing is usually real estate. So I knew we didn't have enough time to get like a full house, right? But there's a very popular strategy where it's called house hacking, and it's when you purchase a house as a homestead and you live in one unit and you rent out the other. So while I was living in Austin, I'm like, you know what? It's a great idea. We can do that for right now. That way you can move into San Antonio because that's where you went to college. And it'd be great because my sisters the next year were going to go into college and they needed a place to stay too. So it's like, hey, it'd be a great little stepping stone to have you get this property. Because fun fact, if you guys don't know about it, there's this thing called an FHA loan that lets you put 3.5% down on a property instead of 20. So it makes properties a lot more accessible.
Easier to acquire when you're a homeowner and not just an investor.
So at the time you had a very good job as well, working for, I think you were still Target.
I think so.
Or it was remote. No, at that point it was
I was already
business,
remote.
Right?
Yeah,
Cool.
I was already remote at the time.
So that allows you to qualify, so they can use your pay stubs and your existing employment to qualify for the payment, and all you need to do is save up 3.5%, which is much less than the 20%.
Much more manageable than 20%.
Yeah. So we got that property. We were able to seal the deal, and we got the duplex. So at the time, we were brand new, and they told us, yes, this is a multifamily property. You can rent it out as much as you want. And I remember we were going out there, and we saw this huge plot of land where it had like the house that had been converted into a duplex, but it was still large. You can tell in the back it had a garage structure. Like in that neighborhood, a lot of houses
have detached garages.
That's right. It has a detached garage, and it looks like somebody had the same idea, and they wanted to make like maybe a little casita over there, and they just didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So they had already like trenched water over there, and they already had trenched electricity, so the detached garage was ready to go. Basically, all we needed to do was finish the inside. Not to mention the giant like plot of land, and that was just in between. So I'm like, I saw the potential for more units, and I remember asking, it's like, hey, I think this is a good idea, and everybody was like, yeah, no, that's definitely something. It's great.
Because we thought it was zoned correctly,
right?
And we were under the assumption it was zoned correctly.
Exactly. So we kept asking, oh, so it's zoned for multifamily, and they're like, yes, this lot is zoned for multifamily, and we just took their word for it, and we went with it, and we thought, awesome. So we acquired the property. You lived in it for a year, and then after that, my sisters moved into it, and then we started looking for other applicants.
And what we started doing too was we wanted to convert the back unit, like you said, the casita, into like a separate address because, people can live in guest houses, but we wanted the person to have their own address, possibly. And then that's when we found out that it was not zoned correctly.
That's right. I remember. Well,
because we started about a year after we purchased it.
I remember, well, like first things first, let's try to get that address added.
Before we did anything, like even working on it, I remember being like, we should do the address first. So, and then we learned the truth.
And that's right. So we go into the San Antonio office, and
I remember going and thinking it was going to be so easy because it was just going to be adding an address. Because if it's zoned correctly, it's not that hard. You have to just pay, I think, like $100, and you can add the address, and then you can work with the city to do the water meter, the mailbox, all that. And then I think they called me later, and they were like, "Oh, actually, it's not zoned for that." And that's where
this
began.
Saga began.
Yeah.
So we went to the office, and I remember we like sat outside and like drew a site plan that we have.
Yeah.
And so you guys can sort of get an idea of the property. Let me pull it up right here. So this right here is Bear Drive. So 327 Bear Drive, the duplex as it shows in Google Earth, and we actually have the real site map that we submitted to the zoning commission.
Yes.
Sorry, in a little bit, and we can show that in comparison. But this is as it stands. So we have the little casita detached back here,
and that's already existing. It's there.
It's there already.
The outside is just the inside that would need to be a little bit remodeled.
And we have this huge plot of land in between the two structures that definitely can consist and house more people. And so it's another dwelling.
Yeah, and there's a little mini shed that's there, but we want to remove that, and it's on cinder block, so that's quote unquote easy to remove compared to like a foundation shed. So that's there right now, but we want to take that out.
Right. So this plot is huge. It barely fits in the frame here. So we absolutely see the possibility of doing this and bringing in more dwellings into the same property. I want to make sure. There you go. Almost took it away. Okay, cool. But anyway, yeah. So once you moved in with me, my sisters graduated college, and we started looking for tenants. And even at the very beginning, while you were still living there, we got a tenant on the side, or maybe it was with my sisters. But I remember it was very early on that they came up to us and started asking us about if we accepted vouchers, and they kept telling us vouchers. And I was like, "What is a voucher? How do we accept it?" And that's when we sort of started going down the rabbit hole of like the financial assistance departments and everything and how that works.
Becoming like city and federally approved landlords for different programs the government has for low income, disabilities, all that stuff. So that was really easy. That wasn't hard at all. Like they're pretty understanding as long as you can prove that you're the landowner. I had to prove that I was the person on the what do you call it? Not the deed, but the person who owned the land. The property owner. And then I can show like who I am, I own it, and then just like how I would get paid. And then that was really it. It wasn't too much of a long application process.
But it was more like taxes. I remember like, send us your I-9s or all that, and to make make sure that you're reporting the income.
And I'm a responsible landowner too. It's not just like I have this property and haven't been paying it or haven't been paying taxes, like, it's this person's not going to lose their home if they move in with me and then I lose it for some reason.
That's right. And then after that, they also came in and did an inspection, right?
Yes, they come and do an inspection every year or two, and they have like a list. They send it to you like a month before so you can make sure. So that's what we had to go through that process. But again, it's not hard. It was very easy to do.
Right. And then I remember that lady reached out to us, and she really needed the place because other Section 8 places are really difficult to work with. And I don't even think she was Section 8. I just think she had federal assistance from disability. And most places that are already set up and good to go to accept those vouchers, or these like corporation or like honestly landlords that don't really care, they just want to get as many people in there and just siphon off as much money as they can. So I remember she was telling us like, no, this properties aren't in disrepair, like
or they have stairs. Like our property, obviously, like as you guys see, it's a 1-story house,
right?
So it's a little easier for somebody. There's like a step or two when you go into the house, but it's a little more accessible compared to apartments or other places, or a house that has an apartment on top of a garage or something like that.
Right. And I'm doing a little bit of zooming and panning and tilting here, and hopefully get.
I think the back is the one that has a little bit more of an accessible access, anyways.
Yeah, because let me see if I can get this rotation in on here. Because the back is just a straight shot in, and you can see one of the doors here to one of the units, and then the other unit under the covered walkway.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the front there are like 3 steps and whatnot, but the back is just a straight in from the driveway or the concrete pad. But anyway, yeah, no, I remember she had 2 types of forms, or 2 types of assistance. One was from federal assistance, and the other one was from the city of San Antonio themselves. They were assisting in the deposit. They would do the first month's rent and assistance if they needed like moving.
Yeah, movers.
So she opted out of the movers. But I remember there was even something that we talked to her and we're like, if you need help, then we can help you allocate some resources and find people so that you can move in as quickly as you need.
Yeah.
Because my big thing is I was been a renter with my sisters and my family our whole life. So like, home ownership, property ownership was not in the picture.
Didn't come till you were a little older.
Yeah, so I was supposed to be first generation graduate here in the U.S., but my dad joined college with me. We went to college together starting my sophomore year, and we finished together. We both got our like high paying engineering jobs, which opened the doors for this investing field, which is how we got this first one. So now I know that the type of people who are renting, the type of people who are in need are not necessarily what everybody else says that they are. Everybody says they're going to mistreat your property. I remember the inspector, they walked in, they saw the house, they thought, man, this is nice. And then he goes, are you sure you guys want to go with the financial aid people? And I go, yeah, why not? And they're like, it's just sometimes they don't treat them right. And this is a really nice house. And I was like, well, I mean, that's why we talk to them and we vet them to make sure that they're good people moving in. And we always try to help them. And we try to pass on the kindness that my family received from others while we were renting as well. But yeah, I mean.
So we are talking about that because that's what we want to hopefully do with the other units that we have. These aren't going to be like frat houses or party places. Like we do accept anybody, but we are eligible to do those type of landlords too for people who might need that.
And so that brings us to the letter that you received and why you're probably still reaching. So if you're still listening to this, we need your help. We went to the zoning commission because after we went to ask the name change, they told us, no, these are the forms that you need to fill out so that you can zone it correctly.
Request for a zoning change,
which is where
to an R4, which is just currently for the legal term, so you can know, to an R4 CD 4 dwelling unit.
Right. So CD is the conditional
use.
Conditional use for 4 dwellings.
Yes.
So we went to the office for the name change or the addressing.
change.
And then they told us, nope, you need to go to zoning and request a zone change. Here's the forms. Fill them out. So we filled out the forms and they'll send them through the process. And then what happened?
Paid the dues and everything. And that was, so we went originally in January of 2024 because I bought the property in December of 2022. So like a year later, we went in to start the whole application. And then I want to say in February, they reached out and they're like, oh, you need to change it again. So we went, we redid the application, paid the fee. And then it took, I think I started reaching back out because we were getting married at the time. You know, we had a lot of stuff going on. And then I reached back out, I think in the summer. Didn't hear anything. I kept kind of like trying to reach out, calling people, sending emails. And then finally, October of 2024, they reached out and they're like, oh my gosh, it got lost. We apologize. We, you know, this kind of fell through the cracks. Like, we're going to put you on the docket for January. Well, we needed to fill everything out and do everything in the holidays. We're going to slow it down a little bit. So we got put on the bracket for, I think, the first hearing of January.
Right.
So that's what we did. We sent all the information. We got a case manager. And we, you know, we had to do a couple of back and forth a couple of times with like the site maps and making sure we had all the information. And then you are the applicant because at the time, you know, I'm the property owner, but I put you down as a authorized person because I'm 38 and a half weeks pregnant right now. And I knew I was pregnant at the time, and I knew, okay, who is more accessible to move around and do things? My husband. So he's the one kind of doing a little bit more right now just because he's a little bit more freer. And so then we went to the zoning commission, and then you're the one who went to talk to them. So you want to talk about that, how that went?
Yeah, that was nerve wracking. So they put us on the, well, first of all, we got a letter or an email letting us know, by the way, your petition has been recommended to be denied. With a recommendation for 3 units, 3 dwellings. And I mean, I saw it as a win, right? Just that recommendation, but it's not what we were going for. So at the moment,
because we could work with 3 dwellings.
Yeah,
we could, but we want to try for the 4th if possible.
That's right. And that's what we told them at the committee meeting. So I the day before, they told us this the day before the presentation was going to be.
And they were like, you can make a PowerPoint. And it was, I think, like maybe 11 a.m. the day before, and we were gonna leave over there like the next morning.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, I need to make this PowerPoint. So I made a PowerPoint. I found other similar cases where zoning changes like this had been approved already. I found all the data that I could find showing how the lot size work. And actually, let me bring up here on screen the actual site map that we had drawn out and presented to this committee. So in the site map is sort of the final stage of what we think we can get done with this property. It has the 4 dwellings, and it takes use of that land that's in between the existing structure
and the shed.
And the shed.
The little shed, yeah.
Yeah, so I went in and look, this is a corner lot. It is more than well enough, like ready and well equipped in land to be able to not only bring in parking lots, because there's a 1.5 requirement of parking lot per dwelling. So if there's 4, that's 1.5 times 4, which is 6, I think.
Around 6.
Yeah. So we need to have at least 6 parking slots, and right here is where we put it.
There's already one existing that's next to the 1-story dwelling next to the alleyway, but then there's 2 other ones we wanted to add that would be for 2 cars each.
Right. So that would get some, right? Because right now some of those tenants are just using street parking. So it'll get those vehicles off the street and into a driveway and home. So we think this is a great benefit all around the neighborhood, right? To just help decongest a little bit that corner. And I mean, all in all, I think square footage wise, we're good to go. We also told them that we are qualified by the city of San Antonio to be long-term tenants,
yes,
right?
That's
long-term landlords.
That's what our goal is. More not necessarily to do short-term rentals, but to be long-term.
Yeah, because I think that's right now that's what everybody's like against. Is like, oh, no one wants to approve all these changes because we're just going to have all this housing that could go to local citizens, and it's
Yeah.
just going to be used up and drive the rents higher up because everyone's using Airbnbs or Verbos.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're looking for. So we're definitely looking to bring people in. In
So
fact,
if you know people,
yeah. So if you guys
have
know
friends,
anyone,
family,
because one of our current tenants actually found the property because she has family in the neighborhood, and she's taking care of her parents. So she's able to stay in the unit and go and take care of her parents within the same proximity. So I
Yeah.
mean, this is the same family. So if you guys are listening and you know or think of somebody who might be able to use this unit as well, I mean, it's not like we're trying to drive people out of their neighborhood and
wanna
try
move people
to price
in.
them out. If anything, we just want to provide more housing there. It's what we're trying to invest in,
Yeah.
and it's in the community itself. So this is a site map that we planned out, and when we scheduled that first like meeting with the commission, I think they had already sent out mailers. They put a notification on the front lawn letting the neighbors know, hey, this property is meaning to be rezoned. Go ahead and contact for your support, or file a grievance if you don't support it as well.
or if they have questions.
Right. So one of the things that the commissioners did bring up is that they wanted us to do some outreach to the neighbors.
And that's what this is.
That's what this is. So
Because I don't know about block walking at 38, 39, almost basically 40 weeks pregnant.
yeah. So
And we talked to them less than a week ago at this point.
yeah, exactly. So we want to make sure that mailers are the first thing that everyone does, but we wanted to put a little bit of digital twist, right? It's one thing to just read a letter letting you know, hey, this property is going to be rezoned, and you have no context
They might
about
think
it.
it's spam too.
Right.
They might not, because they don't know us.
At least this way they can hear from the people who are planning to do the work, the landowners themselves who are requesting, and know the faces behind it, and know that it's not just somebody who's coming to try to tear up the neighborhood,
Or
trying
a
to price them out.
corporation, or it's just us who do this. We're the property owners, management, maintenance, or we get people to go do maintenance. Sometimes it is us
Yeah.
who go and do things.
My
but-
dad will go in and
yeah.
help out as well. I mean, we have my cousin's boyfriend who every now and then assists us in giving a walk around there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a small operation. It's not this large corporation that's going to come and take over. But this is the proposed site plan that we're showing up here, and just want to make sure we put it out in front of as many neighbors as possible to get you guys to support, because that's something that they really emphasize. They want to make sure that we talk to our neighbors and make sure that the neighbors are in support of this.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the things that I put on that presentation is that most of the cases, if not all of them, that were approved for the rezoning was in favor for additional accessible housing, which is exactly what we're trying to do.
Yes.
So it's not driving the prices up in the neighborhood. It's not going to lower or depreciate the value of the houses of the neighbors. It's making sure just to be able to bring more affordable housing to the area.
And like I think we had talked through this. Like, we don't plan to do too much construction. Like, at night it's going to be, and we want to attempt to get what is it called again? The houses where
The prefabs?
The prefabbed houses where they go and they put the house down, but then you go and it's already pretty much built and they just have to put it together.
Right.
So we want to
So-
limit any like noise issues or construction issues, so it can be not as inconvenient for the neighborhood.
Yeah, you're not going to be hearing jackhammers in the middle of the neighborhood, or in the middle of the morning, or in the middle of the night, right? Everything I want to make sure we're doing right. We're not disturbing the neighborhood, and if possible, I mean, those prefab homes are great because they build them in a warehouse, and they just bring them in pieces like Legos and assemble it all together on site. And they usually do it within a day. It's pretty amazing the things that they can do now.
And there's probably some in San Antonio.
Oh yeah,
There
for
has to
sure.
be some in San Antonio. So and we're going through this process, and we're gonna hopefully, when this gets approved, that's when we're gonna do more research to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. But this is just like our idea of what we hopefully can do.
That's right. So, I mean, attached to this letter that you've received, if you're joining us from the letter, there should be a link to a survey just to show us your support, or if you don't support the cause, why that may be. Leave us some feedback. Maybe we can address it as well. because your voices are going to help us get this across. So if we can show up to the commissioner and say, hey, we had this many responses to our letters and to this video that we made, introducing the subject to our neighbors and letting them know, it's going to go a long way, because it was 3 commissioners that mainly prompted us. One was concerned about the parking lot. Another was concerned about the community and a neighborhood outreach. And then there was a third one that voiced support, and they let us know, look, there's definitely a way we can do this. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Which sort of it brought me a little bit of, it eased my nerves a little bit, letting me know, okay, they're in support of this. They just want to make sure that we go through the right channels, we let the right people know, so that it's not a surprise to anyone.
Yeah, so we're working with District 7, the people right now, to make sure that we have the correct, for them it was mostly the parking issue, like making sure that we have the correct type of parking, the distance, the length, all that. And then the second part, which I think is almost a bigger part at a point, is the community outreach. And that's what we're trying to do with this now. So our ask is that if you want to support us, hopefully you can go in, and like Sergio said, we'll have the survey, but we'll also have our information if you have more questions, email, phone number. And then the people at the zoning, they had told us, if you want to just straight up send the support directly to them, so they can already mark it in our favor, we can also add their information, email, phone number, all that.
That's right. So I mean, any form of outreach you guys can do, and letting us know that this is something you approve of, something that you show support for, would help us a lot.
Yes.
And the process to get this done is going to be, one, it has to go through zoning council. Once the zoning council approves it, then it's going to go over to the city council.
Yes.
And then the city council is going to go ahead and finalize it if they approve.
Yes.
So all your support, you guys are what's gonna help us get over the finish line. So if you've made it this far, thank you guys for watching and listening and getting to know us on our episode 2 of our podcast.
Yes.
This is something that we decided to start during the last year into the new year, and we just so happened to have a topic to talk about.
We figured to use this platform because we've been practicing. We would have test episodes, and then we did one regular episode. But then I think it was Sergio's idea of because I was like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna outreach to these people? I can't necessarily go out there and do the way normally people would do it. He was like, let's just use the podcast and let's just send it out. We can link a QR code, a link. So hopefully you trusted the QR code enough. I know some people are hesitant when they get a QR code in the mail, being like, maybe I shouldn't scan this.
I mean, I think this is a lot less awkward than talking to a stranger in your front door in the middle of the day when you weren't expecting it. So this way, I mean, hopefully we're being considerate to you guys.
Yes.
And it leaves us enough room and flexibility so that we don't have to go door knocking while you're 39 weeks pregnant.
Yes.
But yeah, no. And if you guys, I mean, if you liked it and you want to continue follow the project, or you want to continue to just get to know us, this podcast is going to continue to come out.
Yes.
Like I said, we're in episode 2. Hopefully we'll have many more to come.
Yes.
Awesome. Kimberly, any closing words?
No, just thank you. And hopefully you all can support us. And if there's any questions or recommendations you'll have, just let us know.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.